First things that I want to do, we're going to talk about products, make sure that you guys know what you have available to you. And then I'm going to show you how to organize your system inside of the Roof Quote Pro tool, how to kind of manipulate everything, how it works. I'm going to show you what the customer would experience as they go through that process, so you know what a customer application looks like. I'm going to show you the transactions with your customer, and then I'm going to go over the compliance stuff to keep the banks happy. To start off with, we'll jump into the rate sheet. We have 40 products in total, broken into a couple different categories. The main points is our fixed rates run from 3 years up to 12 years, and they run from 2.99% APR up to 13.99% APR. You'll notice that as they get more appealing to a customer, they become more expensive on the dealer fee and vice versa. The whole financial market is pushing really hard for the over 10% APR products. So you'll notice those are all very conveniently priced super low to try to get you to use them. My personal recommendation is there's two ways to kind of go about this financing to me. You can either just have a general, we have financing. If you want it, we're going to make it available to the customers. We have a couple different options and leave it at that. If that's the strategy that you want to use, I would recommend promoting a shorter term fixed rate and then one of these longer term fixed rates, just to kind of keep everybody happy, and putting a lower APR on the short term and then a higher APR on the long term, because pricing wise, it balances out a little better for you. And for a customer, it's like, if you want the nice, slow, juicy APR, you're going to take a slightly shorter term. If you're willing to accept the higher APR, we'll get you nice low payments. So besides our fixed rates, we have same as cash. We have two different types of same as cash. One is like a full on no payment, no interest, no responsibilities whatsoever for the promotional period. So from 6 to 24 months, absolutely no responsibilities on the customer's part. If they do pay that down in that promotional period, however, it is completely interest-free money. So if they can get it done in that 6 month or 12 month or 24 month period, good for them. Additionally, anything they do pay down during that period is interest-free. So if they can knock half of it out, great. They walked away with only paying interest on half. So these ones are really, really nice. I do recommend keeping some of these handy and kind of top of mind, because they are such good sellers. These interest only payment, on the other hand, I pretty much recommend to absolutely ignore them. I would never offer them to a customer for two reasons. The first reason is they kind of suck comparatively. Like no responsibilities whatsoever versus slightly decreased payments for 6 months. Like, it's not really that cool to a customer. The other side is only 2 of these products are actually cheaper than their counterparts. So this one coming in at 6.5 versus 6.25. And then this one coming in, the 12 and 18 months are actually cheaper. So coming in 3/4 and 1/4 cheaper for both of these. So you're not really helping yourself by offering these to your customer, and you're sure as shit not helping your customer. So it's like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then besides that, we have guaranteed monthly payments. So these are very similar to our fixed rate products, but they kind of take that concept and they run it backwards. So the way that these work is we determine a payment factor for that customer. So these all have nice round payment factors. And now we're saying your monthly payment is 2% of your total spend. So it's a $10,000 loan, your monthly payment's $200. We know we start here with this 2% payment, and then we say whatever your interest rate is, we then apply that to the 2%. Whatever's left is principal, of course, and then we stretch out the term of that loan so that they can stay on that 2% payment throughout the life of their loan. These ones will run up to 12 years on 1 or 2 of them, and up to let's see, like the 1.5 runs up to, I believe, 12 years, and then these ones don't run quite as long. The higher that payment factor gets, the less time you need to pay it down. So if you and I apply for this same exact loan, depending on our credit, you and I both apply for $10,000. We both apply for this product. Depending on our credit, I might have a 6.5-year loan and you might have a 5-year loan. I like these products for 2 reasons. One being the simple math. It's really easy for a sales rep to walk in. If you guys use the 2% across the board, the sales rep just always knows it's really easy to factor out 2% of your product. And I know that's what your monthly cost would be. To have it in kind of a conversational tone is like, figuratively, all things being equal, you could likely see a payment of $450 a month, provided you don't mess with this quote too much. And it's a nice way to be able to give a ballpark monthly payment to a customer. And then the other thing that I like about them is that they actually, for a kind of similar product and similar monthly payments to a customer, you can actually get slightly better interest rates than you would see on a similar, fixed rate product. Obviously, the pricing difference for the dealer fee is a factor there as well. But it is nice to be able to offer something a couple points lower for a customer in a similar bracket with a similar odd of approval between these two products. The next couple ones, so we've got zero interest. We all know how those ones work. And then we have these last three products here. These are all risk-based products. So you'll notice this FR is fixed rate. So you'll notice that from over here. But the RBP means risk-based pricing, and that's a 10-year loan product. The interesting thing about these products is they will all drop down to about a 580 credit score, all things being equal, whereas the majority of our products will go to a 640, all things being equal. That's a cool feature to them. This one, of course, carries a zero dealer fee, so I would definitely recommend carrying this one most of the time, because if a customer can't get approved for any of your other products, they're not going to balk at a 15% APR, because it's all they can get approved for, and it's free to you. These two, on the other hand, this is a specific option that you have to toggle on inside your dashboard if you want these to appear at all. You don't select these individual products and put them on your book. You just turn on this feature, and it is a second look feature. So it's basically, if you can't get approved for anything on our book at all, we're going to check one more time and take a look at these two products and see if we can get you approved for these. Like the zero dealer fee option, these also go down to 580, all things being equal, but they will assume a slightly higher degree of risk in addition to the credit score. So they might accept a slightly worse debt to income ratio than the zero dealer fee product. They might accept a slightly lower income, things along those lines. They'll get a little riskier. Obviously, because of that, the bank's going to take that bite out of the very beginning, and then they're going to charge a real whopper of an APR to that customer. Personally, and especially based on the clientele that you guys are pursuing, I would not turn this on, just because that 12% is so high for a customer who realistically probably doesn't need to be putting an addition on their house. So once this opens, you guys currently only have rate sheet and payment settings available to you. Because your account's not active yet. Once your account activates, you are going to have a couple of tabs here. The first one that you walk into by default is the Activity Center. This is kind of your loan dashboard. You have a couple of pieces of information here. We have all of our recent loan applications. So everybody who's completed an application, you'll have their status. If they are approved and they've picked a loan option, you'll see the amount that they have available, and you'll see the loan product that they chose. Their name will also be highlighted in blue. And this is where you would go to transact with them. So you would just hit their name, a transaction window comes up, you put in the amount you want to transact, you tell us what type of transaction that is, and you hit send request. We'll come back to this later when we run through the consumer process, but that's transacting. Just click of a button, pop them open. In a slight difference from GreenSky, we don't care what these are. This is all for your own organization. You can put them all as the final charge. We're not going to mess with this. I remember I accidentally put a final charge as the first charge on a GreenSky order, and the line of credit got closed. And then I had to deal with customer service from GreenSky for days on end. So the way that it works is they get approved for a line of credit, and that is a line of credit in their name that is still sitting at the bank. They have no access to those funds whatsoever. Even if one of our customers who also uses Contractor Loan Pro worked with that customer of yours, they could not transfer those funds to that contractor. They would have to do a new application with that other contractor. The only way that anything gets touched is you coming in here. You have an approved customer. You transact with that customer. All they have to do is approve the transaction. It sends them a text on their phone. They type in the 6-digit code that they get sent to approve the transaction, and it's done. And that's the only way. You can take 100% up front. You can take $10 a day. I do not care. You can do it however you want. I encourage people to treat it as much like cash as possible. So if you do three deposits of 33%, do it that way. If you do 50-50, 60-40, doesn't matter to us. However you're doing cash, I would recommend doing that here. So you've got your recent loan applications. Right below that, you have your recent loan invitations. So this is where you will see that you've sent a loan to somebody, and you can check to make sure that they've actually started it. So you sent one to Steve's cell phone. He hasn't opened it yet. I don't see Steve's name here. That's a problem. Let's give him a call. Let's hit him up and make sure that he's actually filling out that application. Below that, you've got available transactions. So just everybody who's got money to spend with you. And below that, you have your 5 most recent transactions. So we'll give a transaction description, customer, amount, and the status of that. In addition to this page, you have an all transactions page, just a running list of every transaction on your account. And then you have a statements page. I'm not opening either one because they take a long time to load and there's not that much to see. The statements page is published monthly. So you'll have every month's statement, and that's going to show your transactions in even further detail. So it'll show every transaction with obviously the customer information, but it's also going to show you the loan product that they chose, the dealer fee associated, the dealer fee dollar amount, and the net deposit into your account. So you'll see that for each transaction, as well as a total for the entire month. Cool. So you can kind of keep on top of the dealer fees and everything like that. And then the rate sheet, and this is the one that we're actually going to dig into. So your rate sheet probably is relatively empty. There should have only been an option to kind of save a default rate sheet, and it would have just put 2 products on there for you. And then you'll have that rate sheet that is manipulatable as much as you would like. So you would just hit these 3 dots, remove from the base package, and it will be gone. I'm going to get to these offer codes here in a second. So you've got your regular base package, any offer codes that you've made, and then all of the loan products are sitting here at the bottom of the page. So you simply pop these lists open, you find the loan product that you want to use, and you hit add to base package. And that's all that it takes. You can have up to 6 loan products on your rate sheet at a time. We will not show more than 6 to a customer because it gets kind of overwhelming. I recommend 3 to 5 products, trying to keep it simple. So on that rate sheet, again, like I had said, there's kind of 2 ways that you can approach this. You can approach it as we have some general financing, and that's when you would take a rate sheet like this and you would put a combination of like broad spectrum finance products together. And that's kind of what I've done here. A short-term fixed rate, a long-term fixed rate. I put that 10-year risk-based just in case somebody doesn't get approved based on y'all's clientele. You might not need it, but it's a 0 dealer fee, so it doesn't really hurt you to keep it on there. And then I'd put a promotional product on, and I might put one of those payment factor products on, kind of, again, depending on your clientele. Based on what you guys have told me about who you're going after, I would recommend probably putting something more like a maybe even a 599 product if you're comfortable with the dealer fee, because your customers would probably appreciate it. I'd probably still put an 1199 because there's plenty of people out there who let their credit get hurt, even though they are high income individuals and do have a large house and stuff like that. And then the other one I'd probably recommend is one of the longer term promotional products, because again, really high income people, they might not be sitting on all of that cash, especially if they're smart with it. It's probably not liquid right now, $35,000, $60,000. So giving them that little bit of time to liquidate some funds to be able to put this down without paying any interest. That would be my personal recommendation: short-term and long-term fixed rates, and then a promotional for sure. I would probably start there before kind of incorporating the risk-based or one of the payment factor, just because it doesn't sound like your clientele would necessarily need that. From here, we have offer codes. They work just like the rate sheet. So you can create as many as you want. You can turn them off and on as you see fit. You would simply hit this create button down here, give it a name, and then go through and just start adding your products in. And again, 6 product limit. There's a few good reasons to run offer codes. One of them being, obviously, if you're running an actual promotion, right? If you guys have a spring sale or anything like that, or anything that you want to do that a promotion makes sense, great. Another cool thing that you can do with it that I recommend, depending on how you guys go to market and depending on your clientele and stuff, is if you run a good, better, best sales platform, you can actually run a good, better, best finance platform as well. So that when your customers are looking at a ticket price going from $20,000 to $30,000 to $40,000, it's like those are really big jumps. But if you can adjust the financing in such a way that the monthly payments are not increasing by that amount, the monthly payments are increasing by factors of, tens of dollars a month, rather than hundreds of dollars a month. So it's a way that you can kind of game that and help your customers, help it make sense to your customers to go to those high ticket items. And then B, from your sales side, it's obviously an assist on the upsell if you can make their monthly payment make sense to them. So the next thing that I'll show is kind of the consumer experience. These are differentiated. So if I say pre-qualified here, I'm getting the loan products associated with this package. If I say get pre-qualified here, I'm going to be looking at these loan products. That's where that kind of upsell makes so much sense. If we take all right, so this is my good product. There's nothing too crazy or special about it. 16 to 19,000. And because there's nothing too crazy or special about it, I have my good offer code. It's got a payment factor 3%. So that's fine. It has that risk-based pricing because if you're a low-income individual looking for the cheapest possible thing I have on offer, not a terrible chance that your credit's not amazing. You might need a product like this to get approved. And then we put on a 12-year 11.99 to make sure that we got really low payments for those customers. So it gives us a $216 a month, and it shows interest as low as 9.7. So still nothing too incredible there. But once we look at the better option, we have improved these loan options. So now we've got an 8.99 on here. We have a 12-month, no payment, no interest. And we've taken one of these payment factor options, dropped it down to 1.5%. So they get a nice low payment. The other thing that does is it introduces a sub-7 APR. So now when we look at this one, we're seeing 0 APR up to 12 months. We see that 6.99. And we see those monthly payments are still pretty low at 324. The cool thing is when you go from the better up to the best. So we're doing a $10,000 price jump and our monthly payment goes from 324 to 363. So that's where it's like, if you can get that customer thinking monthly, it's a no-brainer to move up to the best option, because for $39 a month, come on, am I really not going to put the best roof over my family's head?
Right.
And that's kind of that's a way that you can strategize it, and you can do it that way if you want to. If it doesn't make sense for your market, it doesn't. And in that case, you would take the base package and you would attach it across the board. And then each one of these is going to say the same thing. So if you always have that 12-month 0 APR, and then interest is always 6.99, and then the monthly payment would just be based on the price, and that will go up in accordance with the pricing for the rest of the products. So from here, your customer can go and say, all right, well, I do like this product. I'm going to go ahead and see more details, and I'm also going to go ahead and get pre-qualified. Something else that we've done here is we have added some information for your customers so they can hover here and see how we got to these numbers. They can also hit this, how does it work? And we'll show them a step-by-step guide of what this application is going to look like, what we're going to ask them for, and then how they would be able to repay their loan to make sure that they can kind of walk into this with their eyes wide open, make sure that they're understanding the entire operation. They hit pre-qualification, and we automatically will send out an application to them. It'll by default go to their cell phone. You can switch it to go to their email. They can put in a different email, phone number, however they want to do it, and resend that application. From here, they will open this up on their cell phone. And the cool thing with this is if they are coming through an instant quote, all of the information they've already given us is going to be auto-filled for them. So it'll make this application even faster. And basically, they're just going to give us their income, their social, and their date of birth. But this will still show the entire process. We welcome them. We start off by letting them know a couple of the privacy things. And we also let them know that it is a soft pull. So they're not going to damage their credit to see if they get approved. They proceed. Again, this will be filled in if they've already done an instant quote, but they tell us how much they want to borrow. They put in their contact info. They confirm their contact info to make sure it's the same person. They put in their name. They put in their address, again, pre-filled if they've already filled out an instant quote. And then we pause them here. So this is where we ask them for the annual household gross income. We are looking for everybody in the household. So husband and wife are applying for, to get their roof replaced, and we put it under the wife's name. We want the wife's income. We want the husband's income. If there's an older relative who collects Social Security or retirement or pension, whatever, in that house, we want that income on here as well. If they've got a teenage kid who works part-time, we want that income on here as well. Anything that goes into that house, we want to hear about it. And then they put in their social security number, date of birth, and proceed. A IT number is not going to cut it right now. So just be aware. I know y'all's type of clientele might not run into that trouble too often, but I do want to make you aware an IT number is not going to get it. It's an individual tax ID number. You apply for it from the IRS if you don't have a social. So run through, make sure everything looks right. As quickly as their internet refreshes, we will get them their approval or their decline. An interesting thing that we do here, they asked for $8,000, if you recall. We gave them $10,000. We always put in an accommodation rate of 15%, rounded to the nearest thousand, to give you guys the opportunity to upsell and to make sure that if they do have a change order, they don't necessarily have to come out of pocket for that if they don't want to.
Perfect.
And then we present the loans pretty much the same way that we present them to you, but we give a little bit of a better information. So we provide a full rundown of during the promotional period, what your payments would be, what your APR is, what that promotional period is, and then what your final payments would be based on spending every dollar of that $10,000. So obviously, if they only spend the 8, these numbers are going to be even lower. And we have, there is a way here at the bottom. This is a slightly old video. Here at the bottom, they will have a drop-down menu where they can compare the 8,000 versus the 10,000 monthly payments. So they will be able to see the $20 or $30 or $15 difference a month that it's going to be depending on the loan product. So they look through these, they find the one that makes sense for them, and they hit proceed. We pause them to make sure that they accept that they are moving on to a hard pull because there's still nothing's happened to their credit at this point. They proceed with that. As fast as their internet refreshes, we pull them through to the loan acceptance, and they are done. A couple of points here. The first one being we are 100% accurate from our soft pull to our hard pull. So you're never going to have somebody kind of get the bait and switch option of their APR getting jacked up or their credit limit that they got approved for dropping down. The hard pull is always going to be accurate at the soft pull. Another point on this is that this is a slightly old video. So the next thing that happens here nowadays is that they automatically get rerouted to their payment portal. So they're going to get brought in to create their payment account, attach their banking information, get their password all set, and get that completely buttoned up before they can move on to do anything else. Once that is done, they've got their application done, they accepted their product, and they went in and they put in their payment information. It's a super simple, very user-friendly portal for them to work through. They get their payment details set up, and as soon as that is done, you guys can transact. So we'll come back to this activity center. We're going to hit this customer right here. Let's say you guys take a 50% upfront. We call it a deposit, and we send that request. That comes over to the consumer's cell phone, and it will read off as Approved Roofing Georgia has requested a consumer deposit or initial charge of $6,000. To approve this payment, please respond to the text with this code. They type in the 6-digit code, hit send, and that approves the transaction. We run on a same-day, next-day ACH transfer. So barring Chase Bank and a couple of like smaller local regional banks and credit unions, that is going to be a same-day, next-day. Chase, for some reason, runs typically about a day behind. That is same-day, next-day from our team based on a 2 p.m. cutoff. So if you're before 2 p.m. Eastern, that'll be same day. After 2 p.m. will be the following business day. And then that's going to be a deposit minus your dealer fees associated. And it's not going to be the dealer fees on the total amount. It'll be the dealer fees associated with the amount you transact. So it's a 4% dealer fee. They're taking 4% off of that 50 that the 50% that you pull over. And then again, and with every transaction, so they don't overcharge or anything like that. From here, we'll come over to our products, and I'll kind of show you how this works. And we come to customize. So we just like we would come in here to change our pricing or anything like that. We come in, we choose the finance package that we want, and we hit factor in dealer fee. And it's going to add the average dealer fee of the products on this list to every single project. So if we turn this off, we're looking at 12,000.9, and then we go 12,552 as it incorporates that 4.6% to make sure that that's covered. So it just adds in, and that's where I would, as you're looking at your finance products, that's where I would encourage you to try to find products that have similar dealer fees. So your average is actually very accurate. Because if you put on a 2% product and an 8% product and that's all you have, your average is not going to be that accurate. We have a tool coming very soon that will let you just put in whatever dealer fee you want. So you can just cover exact every single time. But for right now, it is running on an average. So you'll just, whichever one you choose, we'll factor in that average across the board and adjust as you go. Hit that factor in, save changes, and every single job will receive the addition to that quote. And it's also one of those things that gets really tricky, because if you don't have that price built in from the beginning and you have to come back to that customer, it's either like you come back to the customer and have to explain why that fee is, why it costs more, which can get you into legal trouble for charging them more for financing, or you have to kind of come up with some BS charge to add on there, like an admin fee or whatever. And like, what customer is going to overlook a $4,500 admin fee? The other thing that I like about building that in is you build it into every single job that's quoted now. So if somebody doesn't decide to finance and they're perfectly fine with the price with the additional dealer fee built in, great. You're just collecting extra margin on those jobs. Right. And then it makes it so I use it as kind of the counterbalance to that average dealer fee rate, in that, yeah, we've got a 6% product and we've got a 4% product, and our average is coming out at 5%. So sometimes we're going to gain a point, sometimes we're going to lose a point, and then sometimes we're going to gain 5 points. If they're perfectly fine with the price and we've got the financing built in and they're not going to pay, and they're going to pay cash, great. We're collecting that extra 5% on those jobs. So that's how we build in these dealer fees. And that's where we would go through, is like, if this is my good product, I'll come in and I'll put my good finance package attached. And then when I would go back through, I would find my better product, come in, open it up. I'd make sure I've got my better financing attached to it, factor in that dealer fee, and move forward. That's how you attach it to your products. Those are market specific. So you'd want to come through and, make sure that you've got it on your different markets. The only other thing to jump into here is the settings for the finance button itself. So if we go back to here, we have just a raw finance button, not attached to a quote or anything like that. So you could put that onto your finance page. When we mess with these, it'll pop up here inside of your settings. So then you can come through and you can select the finance package that's attached to this button. And this button is going to act just like the widget itself. So if you come over to, now that you're set up with Contractor Loan Pro, you will have a Contractor Loan Pro button script. So just the same way you built this stuff in, you can build this right into your page as well. So we've got a little bit of compliance stuff to keep the banks happy, and I'll get you guys out of here. Okay, so a couple of things on here. This is going to be pretty repetitive, so we'll get through the majority of it pretty quickly. But it is important stuff. So reminders here, the email and the phone number do need to come from the same person. So if Steve and Mary need a new roof and Steve's the one applying, we need Steve's phone number and Steve's email address. That household income, like we said, if they've got a lemonade stand, I want to hear about it. Only a social security number will get approved, and IT number is not going to cut it. And then a consumer credit freeze. We only check with TransUnion. So if they have a freeze, our application process will actually let them know, and it will tell them the phone number they need to call to get that freeze lifted. Have them call that phone number, send them a new application, they're good to go. Same deal with that one-time passcode. When they verify their phone number and email address, if they punch it in wrong, just send them a new application. Next, we've got a couple other highlights here. Your customers will be serviced by Moment Technologies, so they will see this letterhead from time to time. They shouldn't be concerned about it at all. Contractor Loan Pro is the built-in version of Moment Technologies. So we just took their tool and we built it right inside of our tool. And then customers must have that cell phone and email to apply. It does need to be a cell phone that can send and receive text messages, because they've got to verify their identity and approve transactions. And it needs to be a personal email address. It can't be their work email. And then all funding transactions are sent via text message, like we talked about. Your customers will receive an email with all of their loan documents within 3 days. It typically sends out instantly, but we do give ourselves a little bit of a grace period. And then all of the payments are going to be made online, and all of their monthly statements are coming to them in their email. Nothing is paper, fully paperless operation. And then your customers are going to receive a statement, even if they have not drawn any funds, just showing them the status of their line of credit. And then if they have drawn any funds, they are responsible for payments, whether or not the project has started or finished. If the project is not completed in that first 30 days and it's still an ongoing project, but they've paid their first deposit down, they will be responsible for a payment. And then remind your customers that the final payment request is coming via text message, just like the others. And your customers can get assistance from either one of these resources. This is also a great resource if you have a customer who's maybe just giving you the 20 questions operation on your finance program. Feel free to call this number or have them call this number. Moment Technologies has all US-based service reps. They are very, very fast. They're very prompt. And I used to work with a handful of them, so I can actually vouch. They're very nice people, and they're very, very quick, usually 2 to 5 minutes wait time, if any. They can call in. They will answer every single question that they could have about the finance program and just pass that customer back to you when they're ready to proceed. And then lastly, a couple of important reminders here. So we do, of course, recommend you offer financing to all of your customers. And when you do, remind them that it's a soft pull and pre-approvals, it's paperless, and there are no stipulations. We do want to make sure that we are dealing with adults who are competent and able to transact. So adults who can have a competent conversation about their project and the funding thereof. And then we do recommend you transact in the home or at the point of sale, just like you would if it was a cash deal. You get a contract signed, you want to walk away with a check in hand. Let's go ahead and get the financing squared away and get everybody with some skin in the game. On this other side, we've got some obvious ones here. Don't discriminate, of course. Don't take advantage of the vulnerable. This comes back to just making sure that you pay attention to who your customers are. Don't complete the application for the customer. They do need to complete it themselves. And then don't add anything additional for using financing. This is, again, compliance stuff that we have to go over. Finance cost needs to be built into the overall cost of the job. Customer could burn you pretty hard if they wanted to for being overcharged for financing. Don't pressure anyone into an application. No means no. Don't discuss anyone's likelihood of approval. So I know when we talked about products, we talked about a 640 credit score and a 580 credit score. Just bear in mind, that's of course only one factor that we look at. We can't guarantee that a 750 is going to get someone approved. Maybe they're swamped in debt. So we do look at a couple more factors. My encouragement would just be to have them run an application. It's risk-free. It takes about 2 minutes, and then they'll have a solid answer. And then don't mislead anyone or provide any confusing information. Again, this just goes back to give our people a call. If a sales rep is just getting drilled by a customer, just give us a call. We'll be more than happy to talk to that customer and get them squared away. Lastly on here, no one involved in your company or their immediate family can apply for financing through us. It's considered a conflict of interest. Mostly I like to highlight it because if you've got real go-getter sales reps who are going to want to see what a customer is going to experience in this process, they might be tempted to send themselves an application and run through it. If that happens, your account will get flagged. The bank is going to call me. I'm going to have to call you, and we're going to have to do this whole training again and record it again and send it back over to them again. It's real goofy. So if you have sales reps who are real go-getters and need information, please just send them my way. I'll run them through this whole training. I'll make sure that they feel good and make sure that they've got everything they need. All right. Lastly, I do want to define the difference between where ROOFLE stops and where Moment picks up. So if it is anything to do with you guys and your account and how you are interacting with it, that comes to us. So feel free to reach out to me or anyone on my team, and we'll be more than happy to take care of that. If it is relating to your customer, on the other hand, that is when you would call Moment. So not necessarily just if it's, your customer specifically wants to talk to them, they would go to this line. This phone number and this email address is specifically for our customers. So if you call in, the Moment team will know that it's one of our customers calling in. You do get deferred treatment the same way that you get better dealer fees than their regular customers walking in the door. So if you need help with a specific customer and the way you guys are interacting with them, we'll go directly to Moment. It'll save you calling us and then asking, and then us recommending that you call them. So this is your hotline for anything consumer related. Same with this email address, and then anything else that's not consumer related, feel free to come straight to us. Only other thing there is somebody from Moment's probably going to reach out to you and make themselves available as well in case you guys need anything. So be aware of that. And If they've got anything that they can help you with, awesome. If you don't want to deal with them and you prefer to just deal with us, that's perfectly fine too. It's up to y'all, but you do have support from both sides. Awesome. Thanks so much for your time with me today, guys. Really appreciate it.